Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are looking at a story where a huge European cultural institution is really being forced to face geopolitics head-on.
We're talking about the Eurovision Song Contest.
Exactly. The 2026 contest. It's the 70th anniversary. It's supposed to be this big celebration in Vienna, but it is already facing a profound crisis.
And this isn't about a song or a voting scandal in the usual sense.
No, not at all. This is about international relations. It's about humanitarian principles. We're just going to lay it out right away.
Yeah.
4 major countries, Ireland, Spain, Slovenia, and the Netherlands, have pulled out a full boycott.
So no artists, no broadcast, they're completely out.
Completely. And our mission for this deep dive is to really get into the why. We've got a whole stack of sources that detail what happened at the European Broadcasting Union, the EBU, and why their decisions led to this.
We need to unpack how Israel was cleared to compete and why, for these 4 nations, that decision made participation impossible.
Okay, let's get into it. Because what you're looking at is this fundamental clash. On one side, you have nations saying they have to act in solidarity with the humanitarian crisis.
And on the other,
the EBU sticking rigidly to this idea that culture has to be apolitical. But the sources are really clear. The boycotting countries felt the system itself. The EBU's procedures just completely failed them.
So to really understand the reaction, we have to go to that EBU General Assembly meeting in Geneva. What was the specific flashpoint? What happened in their room that led to these boycotts?
Right, and this is where the internal politics get really interesting. The absolute flashpoint was the EBU's refusal to hold a direct vote on whether Israel should participate.
They wouldn't even vote on it.
No, they sidestepped it. And this was after broadcasters, led by Spain's RTVE, formally requested it. There were 8 countries in total asking for a secret ballot on the issue.
A secret ballot so members could vote their conscience without political fallout.
Precisely. But the EBU leadership just denied the request, shut it down.
So that's a huge move. It basically takes away the main forum for members to register a collective concern. So what did the EBU do instead of addressing that political question?
They reframed the entire conversation. Instead of a vote on exclusion, they held a vote on introducing a set of new rules.
Rules about what?
About voting integrity. Technical stuff, really. Things designed to stop governments or other groups from, disproportionately promoting a song to swing the public vote.
Ah, okay. Before we get to the boycotters, that's an interesting point. Some of these concerns about voting integrity came up after the last contest in May, right? Israel won the public vote by a huge margin.
Exactly. There were already a lot of questions about undue promotion, concerns about organized campaigns, maybe even state-backed social media pushes to influence the televote. So the EBU was already looking at this.
So they saw a technical problem they could fix?
Yes, and they leveraged it. A large majority, about 65% of the delegates, they voted for these new technical rules.
And then
they essentially said, okay, we've passed these comprehensive reforms, so there's no need for any further vote on Israel's participation. They used a vote on procedure to avoid a vote on politics.
And that move is what sealed the deal for the boycotters.
It's what triggered everything. For them, it was proof the system was unwilling to address their core moral objections.
Okay, let's look at those objections. These aren't minor players.
Yeah.
We're talking about countries with a deep history in the contest. What were their specific justifications?
The justifications were incredibly direct. They were unified, and they all focused squarely on the war in Gaza. This was a moral stand.
Let's start with Ireland.
Ireland, yeah. I mean, they're a giant in Eurovision history. They've won 7 times, a joint record. Their absence is felt. Their broadcaster, RT, put out a statement saying it would be unconscionable to take part.
Unconscionable, that's strong.
Very strong. And they cited the appalling loss of lives and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And this wasn't just the broadcaster. The Irish Prime Minister, Michael Martin, he called it an act of solidarity. He linked it directly to national foreign policy.
And Slovenia, their statement was even more pointed, wasn't it?
It was incredibly specific. Their broadcaster, RTVSLO, said it was boycotting on behalf of the 20,000 children who died in Gaza. They just put that number right at the center of their reasoning.
Wow.
Yeah. They said participation would conflict with its values of peace, equality, and respect. They made it about the victims of the conflict.
Then you have Spain, and their withdrawal has, multiple layers of impact.
Oh, it's huge. Spain is one of the big 5. They're a massive financial contributor. They get an automatic spot in the final. Losing them is a cultural blow and a financial blow.
And their reasoning covered both the humanitarian and the procedural side of things.
It did. Their culture minister, Ernest Erdison, was incredibly blunt. He said, you can't whitewash Israel given the genocide in Gaza. Full stop. But then their broadcaster, RTVE, also attacked the EBU's process.
The process in Geneva.
Right. They called it insufficient and said it generated distrust, pointing to the political pressure surrounding it. They felt they weren't heard.
And finally, the Netherlands. They added yet another angle.
They did. Their broadcaster, Arvatros, said participation cannot be reconciled with the public values. But they also accused Israel of proven interference in last year's contest and pointed to a serious violation of press freedom during the war.
So for them, it wasn't just about the conflict, but about Israel's conduct as a participant in a nation.
Exactly. It was a comprehensive critique.
So you have these four countries making a very clear, morally driven case. What was the counter-argument from the EBU and the countries that are staying in? How did they justify moving forward?
The core argument was a defense of, separating culture from politics. The host country, Austria and Germany, were the most vocal.
What did they say?
Germany's foreign minister, Johann Wadephul, he actually urged the boycotting nations to reconsider. He argued that culture should not be used as a place for dealing with political differences. Their view is that these events are meant to be bridges, not battlegrounds.
But that brings up the big comparison that the boycotters keep making. The elephant in the room.
Russia.
They were banned from Eurovision right after the 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So the boycotters are essentially asking, what's the difference?
And that is the absolute heart of the critique, the perceived double standard. From their perspective, it's a major military action causing a humanitarian crisis. The situations look the same.
But the EBU must have a justification for the different treatment.
They do. It's a procedural one. Sources close to the EBU highlight that the formal reason for Russia's ban wasn't just the invasion itself. It was about Russia's state broadcasters violating the EBU's core media values, rules about press freedom and editorial independence.
So it was an internal member-based violation.
That's the EBU's argument.
Yes.
They contend that makes the situations different, allowing them to include Israel while still justifying the Russia ban on their own terms.
Yeah.
It's a distinction that clearly the boycotting nations do not accept.
Okay, let's circle back to the money for a second. Losing Spain, a Big Five contributor, has to hurt the budget for Vienna 2026.
Oh, for sure. The Austrian broadcaster, ORF, and its director general admitted the budget took a significant hit.
So is the show in jeopardy?
No, they were very quick to downplay the impact. Roland Weissman, the DG, promised the show will not suffer in any way. He clarified that the financial burden falls mainly on the EBU itself, not the Austrian host.
So Austria is confident they can cover the shortfall.
Yeah, through reserves, new sponsorships. They're projecting complete confidence that the show will go on, at least from an operational perspective.
So let's look one last time at the EBU's big move, the compromise that wasn't enough. These new rules, these additional safeguards, what were they exactly?
They were all technical, all aimed at voting integrity. First, they're reducing the number of votes you can cast per person. Second, they're beefing up the tech security to fight bots.
Okay.
And third, this is a big one, they're bringing back professional juries for the semifinals, not just the grand final.
Which dilutes the power of a televote that might be swayed by a campaign.
Exactly. And for some countries, like Sweden, this was enough. Their broadcaster said these reforms made the competition as apolitical as possible, and so they're staying in.
But for the boycotters, a technical fix was never going to be the answer.
Not at all. Spain said it clearly. The reforms were insufficient. They said they were welcome, sure, but they didn't address the fundamental reason they'd asked for a vote in the first place, the humanitarian and moral concerns. It's like fixing a leaky faucet and the house is on fire.
We've laid out the two very distinct sides here. The EBU is hoping some of these countries might still change their minds. Is there any sign of that happening?
As of right now, no. The boycott is holding firm. But you should keep your eyes on Iceland. Yeah, their broadcaster, Ravi, had already reserved the right to pull out. They have a final board meeting scheduled for next Wednesday to decide their position for good. So we could potentially see this group of four become group of five.
So we are really watching, in real time, a negotiation over where the line is between culture and politics at a massive global event.
It's a clean split. You have one side prioritizing what they see as humanitarian solidarity over cultural participation. And on the other, you have the EBU and its supporters arguing for this strict separation of culture and geopolitics. And that deadline to commit one way or the other is mid-December.
It's a fascinating test for an institution like the EBU. Trying to prove its own rules and structures can withstand really a moral revolt from within its own membership.
And that leaves a final provocative thought for you to consider. The Austrian host says the show won't suffer operationally. But what does it mean for the legitimacy of the contest? How does the absence of a cultural giant like Ireland, a 7-time winner, and a financial powerhouse like Spain fundamentally change the credibility of an event that claims to unite Europe through song? What really is the cost of that cultural consensus?